When such a season arrives, it rarely announces itself politely. It doesn't send an invitation or ask if you are ready. It simply begins. Sometimes it starts with small inconveniences, things not working out as planned, doors closing without explanation, conversations feeling strained, relationships cooling. Other times, it comes suddenly and sharply. A job is lost, a dream falls apart, or something you counted on disappears. This season is uncomfortable because it disrupts the mind's desire for control. We have all grown accustomed to the idea that if we plan well enough, try hard enough, and do the right things, life will move smoothly. But the season of discomfort strips away this illusion. It forces you to look at what remains when the plans do not work, when the familiar comforts are gone, when you are left only with yourself. In such moments, impatience often grows. We want to push through to escape the tension as quickly as possible. But there is a reason the season is slow. Just as winter cannot be hurried into spring, discomfort cannot be rushed into resolution. It is in the slowness that the work is done. The discomfort serves as a refining fire. You begin to notice your own reactions more clearly, the way fear grips you when you are unsure of the future, the way frustration rises when things take longer than you want, the way sadness sits quietly in the corners of your heart. These emotions are not here to punish you. They are here to be acknowledged, to be understood, to be transformed. In this season, you may feel more alone. People who once understood you may now feel distant. Conversations may seem shallow. You might even feel that the world has moved on without you. But in truth, this isolation is not emptiness. It is a clearing where old distractions are removed so that you can hear your own voice more clearly. The body responds to this season too. Restlessness can grow. Sleep may be difficult. The appetite changes. There is a physical manifestation of the internal shift taking place. Your mind and body are in the process of recalibration, though you may not yet understand what they are preparing for. It is in the midst of this discomfort that small revelations begin to appear. Perhaps a sentence from a book resonates deeply. A chance meeting with a stranger feels significant. A memory returns, bringing with it a lesson you had once forgotten. These are not random. They are signs gently placed in your path pointing toward a change that is coming. But the change is not yet ready to arrive. First, the old patterns must loosen their grip. You may notice that certain habits no longer satisfy you. The activities that once filled your time now feel hollow. Even your ambitions may shift. This is the pruning stage. What no longer serves you is quietly being removed, and pruning is rarely comfortable. It is a cutting away. There is a temptation here to cling to what is being taken. The human mind resists loss. It seeks stability even when that stability is no longer beneficial. And so discomfort grows sharper when you resist. But when you allow the season to move as it must, something changes within you. The silence becomes less intimidating. The uncertainty becomes less threatening. You begin to accept that discomfort is not a punishment, but a preparation. A preparation for something larger than your current understanding. This season can make you feel as though you are losing ground, but in truth, you are being repositioned. A tree does not resist the winter because it trusts that spring will come. In the same way, life brings this season not to harm you, but to make space for growth that could not occur in comfort. You may notice a sharpening of your senses. Small details become more noticeable. You hear the sound of your own breathing. You feel the texture of the air on your skin. You see the way light falls differently at certain times of the day. In the quiet, you become more present. And in that presence, you begin to discover truths about yourself that were hidden in the noise of easier times. There will be days in this season when you feel heavy. There will be mornings when you wake and wonder if it is worth it. There will be nights when sleep escapes you and your thoughts circle endlessly. This is part of the process. The old ways of thinking are being challenged, and the mind does not surrender them without resistance. You may also notice your emotions rising more quickly. Small frustrations feel larger. Little problems seem heavier. This is because your sensitivity is increasing. Like a wound being cleaned, it can sting before it heals. The discomfort is evidence that healing is in progress, though the form of that healing may not yet be visible. And yet, beneath all the confusion, something steady remains. Something in you knows that this season has meaning. That there is a reason you are being unsettled now, a reason the familiar comforts have been stripped away. That reason is not revealed all at once. It unfolds slowly, like the first signs of spring emerging from the cold earth. If you want, I can now do patience and faith in the same style so it forms the next chapter of the speech. That way, the whole talk feels continuous. There are times in life when the world feels more distant. The people you once spoke to every day speak to you less. The social spaces you used to fill with laughter now feel quieter. The connections that seemed unshakable begin to loosen. You may look around and wonder when it happened. When the circle became smaller, when the noise faded, when the warmth turned to silence. Isolation does not always come by choice. Sometimes it arrives without warning. One season, you are surrounded by company, by conversation, by a sense of belonging, and the next you are standing alone. At first, it feels unnatural. You may even try to resist it, reaching out, filling your schedule, forcing interaction to recreate what is slipping away. But the more you push, the more it feels as though something invisible is pulling you back into stillness. This is the nature of increased isolation. It is not punishment, though the mind may interpret it as such. It is a redirection of your energy away from the outer world and toward the inner. When life is loud, the voice within you is faint. The endless conversations, the constant flow of opinions, the small dramas of daily life, all of these fill the space where your own thoughts might rise. When the noise stops, it can be disorienting. You begin to hear the echoes of your own mind more clearly. At first, those echoes may not be pleasant. They may carry doubts you have ignored, fears you have buried, truths you have avoided. Alone, there is nothing to drown them out. Alone, you must listen. This is why isolation can feel uncomfortable. It forces you to face yourself without distraction. People often imagine solitude as peaceful, and it can be. But before solitude becomes peace, it often feels like emptiness. The mind interprets the absence of familiar voices as loss. The heart misses the comfort of shared moments. There is a subtle ache, like missing a song you have heard all your life. Increased isolation often comes before a deep transformation. It is a clearing of space. When life is preparing you for something greater, the connections that no longer align with your path begin to fade. It is not that they are wrong or harmful. It is that they belong to a chapter you are now leaving. And if they were to remain, they would keep you anchored to what you are meant to outgrow. This withdrawal can take many forms. Friends who once understood you may now misunderstand your silence. Invitations may become fewer. Messages may go unanswered. You might even notice yourself pulling away without fully knowing why. Something in you senses the need for distance, even if you cannot yet explain it. The body responds to this shift as well. You may find yourself more tired in social situations, more sensitive to noise, more aware of the energy in a room. The conversations that once excited you now feel draining. The desire to be alone grows stronger. This is not weakness. It is the body's way of conserving energy for the deeper work ahead. There is also a spiritual dimension to this isolation. When you are surrounded by others, your attention is scattered. Your energy is constantly moving outward, toward their needs, their opinions, their emotions. In isolation, that energy turns inward. It begins to nourish your own thoughts, your own healing, your own growth. During this time, you may notice moments of heightened clarity. A simple walk feels more meaningful. A quiet evening reveals thoughts that lead to important realizations. Small details become more noticeable. The way sunlight enters a room, the sound of your own breath, the feeling of your heartbeat. This heightened awareness is a sign that your focus is shifting from the outer world to the inner one. Yet, isolation can also reveal how much of your identity has been shaped by others. When there is no one around to reflect you back to yourself, you must decide who you are without their influence. Without the approval, without the feedback, without the constant reminders of where you belong, you are left to define your own place in the world. For some, this can feel frightening. It can feel as though you are disappearing. But in truth, you are not vanishing. You are shedding the parts of yourself that were built for someone else's expectations. In this space, you may also become more aware of the subtle connections that remain. Even in isolation, certain people will still cross your path in meaningful ways. These are the ones whose presence is aligned with where you are going, not just where you have been. You may notice that conversations with them are deeper, that their words stay with you longer, that their energy feels calm rather than chaotic. And while the outer circle shrinks, your inner world begins to expand. Ideas you never had time for now have room to grow. Passions you once neglected return to the surface. The thoughts you used to silence now have the freedom to be explored. It is in this stillness that you begin to understand something. Not all absence is loss. Some absence is protection. Some distance is necessary so that you can hear the whispers that are guiding you forward. Over time, the discomfort of isolation may soften. You may even start to prefer the quiet. You may find that being alone does not mean being lonely, that the solitude itself carries a presence, a sense of being accompanied by something unseen but deeply felt. This presence is what begins to teach you that connection does not always require proximity, that there are bonds which remain unbroken even without daily contact, that there is a deeper relationship forming between you and your own spirit, between you and the source that has been guiding you silently all along. If you'd like, I can continue with tests of patience and faith next, keeping the same length and tone so your speech becomes one continuous flow. There are moments in life when nothing seems to move. You wait, and the more you try to push events forward, the more they seem to stand still. This stillness is not accidental. It is a deliberate test. A test not of your strength in action, but of your strength in waiting. Patience is one of the most difficult virtues to cultivate because it requires you to surrender control. In patience, you must accept that you cannot force the timing of life. You must release the urge to open the flower before it blooms, to harvest the seed before it matures. And yet, the human mind wants results now. It measures progress by visible movement. When the movement stops, doubt begins to grow. This is when faith becomes necessary. Faith is not merely believing in something you can see. Faith is holding trust in the unseen, trusting that the roots are growing even when the soil above looks empty. It is choosing to believe that the delay has meaning, that the pause is preparing you for what you have asked for. Life has a way of testing both patience and faith together. You may be certain of what you desire, a goal, a dream, a change, but before it arrives, you are placed in situations where nothing seems to happen. Each day feels the same. Each effort seems unanswered. And as the days pass, the mind begins to whisper, maybe it will never come. In these moments, your inner dialogue becomes the true battlefield. You must decide which voice to follow, the one that says to give up, or the one that says to keep going even without proof. Patience is not passive. It does not mean you sit idle and do nothing. Patience means you continue to plant seeds, to water the soil, to tend to your responsibilities, even when you see no immediate results. It means you trust the process enough to keep walking, even when the road ahead is covered in fog. The tests of patience often come disguised as waiting rooms in life. You have left one place, but you have not yet arrived at the next. You are suspended between chapters. This in-between space can feel frustrating because you have not yet received the blessing you have been preparing for. But the in-between is where your foundation is strengthened. Without patience, blessings can become burdens. If something arrives before you are ready, you may not be able to sustain it. This is why life sometimes holds back what you desire, not to deny you, but to give you time to become the person who can carry it. Faith is the companion that makes patience possible. Without faith, patience feels like suffering. With faith, patience becomes a form of trust. You begin to see the delays not as obstacles, but as signs that something is being aligned on your behalf. Faith does not mean you will never feel doubt. Doubt will come, and it will come often in these tests. Faith means you choose not to be led by that doubt. You acknowledge it, but you do not give it power over your decisions. In this season, you may find yourself surrounded by uncertainty. Plans may fall through. Paths you thought were clear may suddenly close. People you relied on may step away. These events are not random. They are part of the refinement. They remove what is weak so that what is strong can remain. Patience will often require you to release your timelines. The mind creates deadlines for when certain things should happen. By this age, by this month, by this year. When life does not meet those deadlines, frustration grows. But in truth, those timelines are illusions created by comparison to others. Your journey has its own rhythm, its own pace. In the tests of patience and faith, there will be moments where it feels easier to settle for less than what you truly desire. The weight can feel so heavy that almost anything seems better than continuing to wait. But settling cuts short the process. It accepts the temporary as if it were the permanent. It closes the door on the greater that was waiting for you just beyond the next trial. During this time, it becomes essential to guard your mind. The longer the wait, the more vulnerable you become to negative voices, both from within and from others. You may hear people say, "It's taking too long," or "Maybe it's not meant for you." If you are not careful, these voices can plant seeds of discouragement. This is where discipline comes in. Discipline of thought, discipline of focus, discipline of belief. You remind yourself daily of why you started. You remember the times in the past when life seemed delayed, but in the end, the timing proved perfect. You hold on to those memories as evidence that waiting is not the absence of progress. It is the silent preparation for a leap forward. Sometimes the tests intensify right before the blessing arrives. Everything seems to go wrong at once. Obstacles appear from every direction. This is often the final trial, the point at which your patience and faith are tested to their highest degree. It is here that many turn back, not realizing how close they are to the breakthrough. In these moments, faith whispers that the storm is not the end. It is the clearing before the arrival. Patience keeps you grounded when everything around you feels unstable. Together, they hold you in place until what is meant for you can no longer be kept from you. The test is not in the waiting alone, but in how you wait. If you wait in frustration, the time feels longer. If you wait in trust, the time becomes part of the blessing itself. The very act of waiting transforms you, teaching you humility, strengthening your resilience, deepening your gratitude for what is to come. If you want, I can continue with heightened intuition in the same 800-word style so the speech flows like one long meditative talk. There are seasons in life when the mind's usual way of processing the world begins to shift. The noise of constant thought softens, and in its place, a deeper awareness begins to emerge. You notice things you would have overlooked before. A look in someone's eyes, a shift in the air, a word that carries more weight than it seems. This is the beginning of heightened intuition. Intuition is not loud. It does not fight for your attention in the way that fear does. It does not demand proof or shout over your reasoning. Instead, it moves quietly, like water flowing beneath the surface. It is subtle, but it is precise. When life is preparing you for a significant blessing, this inner voice begins to strengthen, guiding you toward choices you cannot fully explain, but somehow feel are right. At first, you may question it. You may ask yourself why you feel uneasy in a certain place or why you feel drawn to a certain path without a logical reason. But as the days pass, you begin to see that this voice is rarely wrong. It notices patterns before they form. It senses what your conscious mind cannot yet see. This sharpening of intuition often comes after a period of stillness and solitude. When distractions fade, your attention is no longer pulled in 1,000 directions. You start to notice the small signals that life has been giving you all along, signals that were always there but lost in the noise. It might be the way a certain opportunity feels heavy despite appearing perfect on paper. It might be a quiet knowing that you should delay a decision even though everyone else is urging you to move forward. It might be a pull toward a new place, a new idea, a new direction that makes no sense in the moment but later reveals its purpose. Intuition often arrives through the body. A tension in your chest, a lightness in your step, a knot in your stomach. These sensations are the body's language for what the mind has not yet processed. When you learn to listen, you realize the body has been speaking to you for years, warning you, encouraging you, redirecting you. But without awareness, its voice was drowned out by overthinking. As intuition heightens, your sensitivity increases. You begin to pick up on the energy of spaces and people more clearly. You can sense when someone's words do not match their intentions. You can feel when a situation is about to shift before any visible sign appears. This can feel both empowering and overwhelming. Empowering, because you now have access to guidance that no external source can provide. Overwhelming, because you begin to see truths that are not always easy to accept. You might notice that certain people you once trusted are not aligned with where you are going. You might sense that certain paths you once dreamed of are no longer meant for you. Intuition will ask you to face these truths without turning away. The more you follow it, the stronger it becomes. Each time you act on your inner knowing and see it confirmed by events, your trust in it deepens. This trust is essential because the blessings you are being prepared for will often require you to step into the unknown before you have all the details. Heightened intuition changes the way you move through the world. You begin to rely less on constant validation from others. You stop chasing every opportunity and instead wait for the ones that feel aligned. You learn to recognize the difference between what is urgent and what is important. And when something feels wrong, you no longer ignore it just because it looks right from the outside. This inner guidance also teaches you patience. Intuition often speaks in whispers, revealing just enough to guide your next step, but rarely showing you the entire path. It asks you to trust that what you cannot yet see will appear when you need it. This is not always easy, especially if you have been taught to rely only on logic and evidence. But over time, you begin to realize that intuition is not the opposite of logic. It is the wisdom that works alongside it, filling the gaps that logic cannot reach. You may also notice synchronicities increasing during this time. A book appears with exactly the message you needed to hear. A conversation happens at just the right moment. A chance encounter leads to an unexpected opportunity. These are not accidents. They are the outer reflections of the inner alignment that intuition has been guiding you toward. Heightened intuition requires a certain level of self-trust, and self-trust grows when you keep promises to yourself. Each time you honor what you know deep down, even if it is inconvenient or misunderstood, you strengthen your ability to hear and follow your own guidance. This is why the blessing you are moving toward cannot come before this stage. Without self-trust, you would not be able to hold it. In this season, you may also become more protective of your energy. You notice how certain environments drain you while others replenish you. You begin to choose where you spend your time more carefully. You say no more often, not out of rejection, but out of preservation. You understand that the clarity of your inner voice depends on the quality of your inner space. There will be moments when your intuition tells you something that goes against the expectations of those around you. You may be asked to walk away from something everyone else says is too good to leave, or to step into something others think is too risky. In these moments, following your intuition can feel lonely. But you will also notice that each time you honor it, life responds in ways that confirm you were never truly alone in that decision. Intuition is like a muscle. It strengthens with use and weakens with neglect. In heightened states, it can feel as though you are walking through life with a quiet companion, one that sees just a little farther ahead than you do. It nudges you left when danger lies to the right. It slows your pace when rushing would cause you to miss an opportunity. It urges you forward when fear tries to keep you still. If you want, I can now do opportunities for growth disguised as challenges in the same style, so the speech keeps building momentum without breaking tone. There are moments when life seems to place obstacles directly in your path. They appear suddenly, sometimes without reason, interrupting your plans and reshaping your direction. At first, they are seen only as problems, unwanted, inconvenient, even unfair. But as time passes and as you look back, you begin to realize that these challenges carried something within them, an invitation to grow. Growth rarely arrives in the form we expect. We imagine it will come through inspiration, through motivation, through moments of clarity and triumph. But in truth, the most profound growth often comes wrapped in difficulty. It comes through the situations that push you beyond your comfort, that demand you face what you would rather avoid, that strip away the layers you have built for protection. When life is preparing you for something greater, it often begins by sending situations that stretch your endurance. These moments do not just test your skill, they test your character. They reveal your patterns, your weaknesses, your habits of avoidance. A challenge is not only about overcoming something external, it is about meeting the parts of yourself that remain untested. It is easy to welcome the opportunities that feel pleasant, that come with applause and recognition. But the true opportunities, the ones that change you at the core, often arrive wearing the disguise of hardship. You may lose something you thought you could not live without, only to discover that its absence reveals your strength. You may face rejection in a place where you felt certain of acceptance, only to realize that the rejection was a redirection towards something more aligned. Challenges have a way of revealing truths that comfort could never show you. In moments of ease, it is possible to hide from certain parts of yourself. But when pressure builds, when things do not go as planned, when the path becomes steep, everything within you is brought to the surface. You begin to see your fear more clearly, your doubts more sharply, but also your resilience more vividly. The mind's first instinct in the face of challenge is to escape. It seeks to restore comfort, to return to the familiar. But the familiar is often the very thing you are meant to grow beyond. This is why certain challenges seem to repeat themselves, not because life is against you, but because the lesson has not yet been learned. Until you face it fully, it will return in different forms, each time urging you to step into a new level of yourself. When you begin to see challenges as disguised opportunities, something shifts. You stop asking only, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin to ask, "What is this here to teach me?" The question changes your posture. Instead of shrinking back, you lean in. Instead of resisting, you listen. You begin to see that every challenge contains a seed of awareness, of strength, of wisdom, and that seed is only released when you engage with the challenge fully. Growth disguised as difficulty often feels slow in the moment. You may go through weeks, months, even years of facing something that seems unending. You may wonder if you are making any progress at all, but transformation is rarely instant. Just as a mountain is shaped over centuries by wind and rain, your character is shaped over time by the consistent meeting of life's trials. Some challenges refine your patience. They require you to endure delays without losing your vision. Others strengthen your courage, forcing you to act even while fear is still present. Some sharpen your clarity, teaching you to see through illusion and choose what is real. And some teach you surrender, showing you that strength is not always about pushing harder, but about letting go of what you cannot control. When you are in the middle of a challenge, it is difficult to imagine it could ever be a gift. The discomfort is too immediate, the uncertainty too overwhelming. But as you continue forward, there will be moments where you look back and realize that the very situation you once prayed would end was the one that gave you the ability to stand where you are now. It is in this way that blessings often hide in plain sight. They do not always arrive in the shape of answered prayers. Sometimes they arrive as the unanswered ones. The opportunities you thought you wanted but were denied. The plans you made that fell apart. The detours that seemed to waste your time but ended up shaping your path more perfectly than you could have imagined. Challenges also build a type of empathy that comfort cannot create. When you have walked through difficulty, you begin to understand the struggles of others in a way that is deeper than words. Your own journey through hardship gives you the ability to guide, to encourage, to lift others who are now where you once were. This is another hidden gift of challenge. It not only transforms you, but also expands your ability to impact the world around you. The temptation, when facing difficulty, is to wish it away quickly. But rushing through challenges often means missing the full depth of what they were meant to give you. It is like leaving a journey halfway through. You may escape the struggle, but you also leave behind the treasures that were only found in the second half of the road. Life will often place these disguised opportunities in your path when you are being prepared for something bigger than you have known before. The reason they come first is because the next stage of your life will require a version of you that cannot be formed in comfort. And so the challenge arrives not to block you, but to shape you into someone capable of receiving and sustaining what is coming. It is only when you begin to see with this perspective that you stop resenting the challenges and start engaging with them. You understand that they are not here to take from you, but to give to you in a way that will only make sense when the blessing arrives. And though they come wearing the heavy clothes of difficulty, underneath they carry the bright light of transformation waiting to be uncovered through your persistence and your willingness to face them fully. If you'd like, I can continue with unexpected signs and alignments in the same 800-word style so your speech concludes with a powerful final section. There are seasons in life when the path ahead is unclear, yet subtle signals begin to appear around you. They are not loud announcements or grand revelations. They are small, almost invisible movements, moments that feel ordinary to others but carry an unusual weight for you. A phrase you overhear at just the right time, a book falling open to a passage that answers a question you have not spoken aloud, a meeting with someone who unknowingly gives you the exact guidance you needed. These are the unexpected signs and alignments that mark a shift in your journey. When life is preparing to bring something significant into your reality, it begins to arrange the pieces long before you see the full picture. From the outside, these moments may seem random, disconnected, even meaningless. But from a deeper perspective, they are threads being woven together. You may not see the design yet, but you can feel that something is forming. These signs often arrive when you are in a period of uncertainty. Perhaps you have been asking questions in silence, searching for direction, wondering if your steps are leading anywhere at all. And then, without warning, something happens, a symbol, a conversation, a dream, and you feel a quiet confirmation in your spirit. You may not know why, but you sense that you have just been reminded you are not walking alone. Alignments can come in the form of timing. You might be thinking about a particular need, and within hours or days, a solution presents itself in an unexpected way. You might be about to give up on a goal only to receive a message or encounter that reignites your motivation. The precision of these moments defies simple explanation, and yet they happen often when you are on the edge of a breakthrough. There is a subtle art to recognizing these signs. If the mind is moving too quickly, if you are buried in distractions, they can pass by unnoticed. This is why seasons of stillness, discomfort, or isolation often come before signs begin to appear. They slow you down enough to notice what has been there all along. Sometimes the sign comes as a repetition. You may see the same word, the same number, the same image in multiple places over a short period of time. At first, it might seem like coincidence, but after the third or fourth time, you begin to wonder if something is trying to speak to you. This repetition is often the way the unseen communicates, ensuring that the message is not lost in the noise of daily life. Other times, the sign comes as an opportunity that aligns too perfectly to be planned. You meet someone who just happens to have the exact resource or knowledge you have been looking for. You find yourself in the right place at the right time without even intending it. You take a detour and discover something that shifts your perspective entirely. These are the alignments that remind you that not everything in life must be forced. Some things are designed to find you when you are ready. Signs are not always pleasant. Sometimes they arrive as sudden endings, unexpected closures, or abrupt changes. They may not feel like guidance at first, but as time unfolds, you begin to see that the removal of one path was the clearing of space for another. These signs can feel harsh in the moment, yet they carry the same precision and purpose as the gentler ones. When you begin to recognize and trust these signs, you find yourself moving with greater ease. You do not need to have the full plan before you take a step. You understand that the next sign will appear when it is needed, just as the previous ones did. This trust is not built overnight. It grows each time you follow a nudge, take a leap, and see life respond in alignment. The beauty of unexpected alignments is that they often connect pieces of your life that seemed unrelated. An experience from years ago suddenly becomes useful in your present. A skill you developed without a clear reason now fits perfectly into a new opportunity. A person you met briefly returns into your life at the exact moment their presence matters most. Life keeps these connections hidden until the timing is right, and when they are revealed, you see how even the detours had a purpose. To notice and understand these alignments requires presence. It means being willing to pause before rushing ahead, to reflect before dismissing an event as chance. It also requires humility, the willingness to accept that there are forces at work beyond your immediate understanding, and that those forces may be arranging things with greater wisdom than your current perspective allows. As these signs increase, you may feel a growing sense of being guided. This does not mean every detail will be clear, nor does it mean that the journey will be without challenges. But it does mean that you will have confirmation along the way, moments that say, keep going, you are on the right path. The signs may be subtle, but their effect on your spirit is profound. They shift your posture from doubt to quiet confidence. They remind you that you do not have to see the entire staircase to take the next step. They strengthen your patience in waiting for what is unfolding, because you can see evidence that the pieces are falling into place. Over time, you begin to live differently. You listen more closely, not only to others, but to the quiet within yourself. You look more carefully at the details of your days, knowing that meaning often hides in the smallest moments. You walk with more openness, aware that the answer you seek could arrive in any form. A stranger's kindness, an unexpected delay, a sudden inspiration, a door closing that makes room for another to open. And as these alignments weave themselves into your life, you begin to understand that what you once called coincidence was never random. It was always part of a larger rhythm, a pattern designed to move you toward what is meant for you, in the time that it is meant to arrive, in ways you could not have planned if you tried,